Hi fifth graders. Today we're going to learn how to draw a winter fox and then we're going to paint it. So the first thing you need to do is to decide which fox you want to draw. If you look at your handout, I have several examples of foxes in different poses. If you turn to the last page of your handout, you're going to see a blank sheet of paper where you can practice drawing foxes. I want you to try to practice at least 3 different foxes on this piece of paper so that you can decide which one you want to use for your final painting. If you look at the second page in your handout, I've included a step-by-step tutorial on how to draw a very simple fox. That should be the first one you practice, because once you get the basic form of the fox figured out, then you can try some of the more complicated ones. Again, I have several different poses for foxes on the front of the handout. You can choose from a sleeping fox, a fox looking up at something, a playful fox, a sleeping girl fox, or any of these poses or anything that you decide you want to come up with. When you draw, you need to remember to always draw it really light till you get it exactly how you want it. That way if you have to erase, the pencil comes off a lot easier. Here's an example of my practice page. I have 3 different foxes, and now I'm going to decide which one is my favorite. I think I like the one that's looking up with his eye open. After you've practiced drawing your fox, you're going to move on to your watercolor paper. On this sheet of paper, you're going to need to begin by drawing what's called a horizon line. The horizon line is the line where the earth and the sky meet. So if you were to look out the window of my classroom, you could see the field, parking lot, and then the tree line and the sky. So it's always very important to include that horizon line so that you know where the sky stops and the ground starts. So I'm just going to do an example for you here. I want it to be a little more than halfway up my paper. So I'm going to start about here, and it's going to be winter. So I am going to do maybe a little sloping hill that comes across like that. Now I know this area is going to be my sky, and this is going to be my ground. This will be the background, and this will be the foreground. The next step is to draw trees. You're going to use the letter Y, which looks like this, to help you draw trees that are bare, meaning trees that don't have any leaves left on them because it's winter time. All of your trees should be placed below your horizon line. Most of the time, they won't sit right on the horizon line. So you can stagger them along the horizon line. The farther something gets away, the smaller it is, and the closer to the bottom of your page, the bigger it becomes. So I'm going to start with a tree right about here. And I'm going to go off, thinking about that letter Y. And then from here, so can you see how this begins to look like a letter Y? Then, each time I want to make another branch, I can get just a little bit smaller and make another Y. And it's okay if you go right off that page, like it's going way up into the sky. So remember, making branches, you don't need tons of them, just enough to show that it's a bare tree, a tree without any leaves on it. They all fell off because it's winter time. Okay? Now, I want to make one that looks farther away and smaller. So I'm going to move back towards the horizon line. I'm going to make that Y shape again. Notice my tree is a little bit smaller because it's farther away. That's how you show space in a drawing or a painting. And I just keep making my letter Ys. And this tree goes behind the other tree. By overlapping, that also shows space. And then I think I should probably have one tree over here. And this one, I'm going to put closer to the horizon line, but not directly on it. That's going to be a skinny one. Tall and skinny. I could add another branch over this way if I want. So now I want to get rid of the horizon line if it goes through my tree. The tree has to be in front of the horizon line. After you have your trees drawn, you could add something like a moon if you wanted, or maybe if your fox is sleeping, it's in a den. You can kind of be creative and come up with a scene that you want to show. My fox is looking up at the moon. I've drawn the fox in the foreground of the picture. That means it's closer to the bottom of the page, and the fox is going to be a lot bigger than the trees to show that it's closer up. That gives me depth. That's how you'll show depth in your picture. Now we're going to add some oil pastel to your picture. The first thing we're going to do is use white. So if you look at this white oil pastel, it's very dirty. Grab some paper towel, and any area on the tip of the pastel, you're going to wipe off. Now, I know that my fox has a white tail, a white chest, and a little bit white on its face. So I'm going to use this pastel. And I'm going to color kind of hard. It won't show up that good because it's white on white. But I'm going to fill it in with the white there. And on its tummy. And then on its tail. It might get a little gray from your pencil, but that's okay. Fill that all in. Now I want it to look like it's snowing. So I'm going to take this pastel, and I want a nice snowflake right on his nose, and I'm going to do dots all over in my sky to show that it's snowing. They can go in front of the trees. Once you have all the white that you want, you're going to move into the black. So find your black oil pastel. If you need to clean it off, do so. Might want to test it. And I'm going to outline my drawing. Try to be careful not to get the little boogers of pastel on your paper because they'll smear. First you need to take out your watercolor paints, have water, have a paper towel, and have your paintbrush ready. You're going to start by getting your entire page wet. After you get the page wet, you're going to activate your watercolor cake by getting it wet and kind of waking up the paint. Once the paint is woken up, you're going to add black to your sky if it's at night, or blue, depending on whatever color you want to use. But make sure it's real watery so that it looks like a wash instead of a solid color. With a watercolor, you want it to be really transparent and it looks like it's just sort of washed across the sky. Once you get your sky painted, then you can use the small brush that's inside of your paint tray. With that small brush, you'll do the trees. Once your trees have been painted, you can take a medium-sized brush and add some oranges and browns to the body of your fox. I like to start with the orange and then add a little brown around the edges so that it looks like it's been shaded. And if you would like, you can blend those two colors together. Once your fox has been painted, you can add some shadows to your snow. You can use a really watered down black, which will give you a gray, or you could use a really watered down blue. And you just want to add some suggestions of shadows underneath your tree, underneath your fox, around your fox, especially if it's at night, because your snow won't look bright white. If it's during the daytime, you'll have whiter snow and just a few blue shadows.